now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
All right, hi everybody. Welcome to your RBLR Raves podcast. I am Ben. I'm back. I was out last week on a river somewhere in Weeki Wachee. And with me this week, filling in for Zach, is Eureka. He's on his Jordan flu game thing today, filling in. How's it going, Eureka?
A little under the weather, buddy, I to be honest with you, but I'll do my best, and hopefully I'm not too nasally for everyone out there. So,
no, I think you sound pretty good, honestly. I think that chai tea is definitely helping.
I'm faking it till I make it, buddy.
Yeah. All right, so might not look great if you're looking at the box scores this week, but the Rays did drop a series to the Royals. They dropped a series to Baltimore, and now they lost their first game of a home series against the Guardians. They didn't get swept in all those series. They did, steal a game, but they were a lot closer than it seems. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But right now, the big news is the trade deadline. It's coming up in literally like 2 days. So going to be a pretty cool, crazy 48 hours. We just had a pretty big move yesterday with Luis Castillo getting sent over to Seattle for a pretty nice haul of prospects. Like, they did well for that. Any instant reactions to that deal?
I mean, huge for the Mariners, who are, I think, I don't know if they're shockingly, leading the way, but they've got, Robbie Ray, Logan Gilbert, and now they've got Luis Castillo, who's good for 6 to 8 Ks a game. I mean, it's just a solid person that they can throw anywhere in their rotation, if not at the top of it. So it might come down to, obviously, we're inching our way towards one of those wild cards, and we might end up playing Seattle or something in the playoffs, and they've got a pretty good playoff rotation. And I think they made a strong move going, all in, I guess would be the term, but I mean, they made a very, very strong push for a win now move.
Yeah, it was cool to see. A lot of people were saying it could have been a bit of an overpay, but like I don't think it's as much of an overpay as it is like that's what the market value is this season for a guy like Castillo, because with the extra wild card spot, like there are so many teams that are still in it, that are still looking to buy and, make that final push.
Yeah.
So this is what a Castillo haul is, or that's what it's going to take to get Castillo. Like, that's the kind of haul you need. So good for the Reds, good for the Mariners. We won't really know who won that trade. I'm using air quotes with the word won, until 5 or 6 years from now when all those prospects graduate. So
yeah,
really good move for the Mariners, though. I think they instantly just became the best team in the AL West. The Astros are good, but like that, the top three of that Mariners rotation, plus the bullpen, plus Julio Rodriguez doing whatever he wants, that's a really good team.
I mean, they are a double-digit games behind Houston, but they're, I don't think they're locked in for a wild card spot. I think that there's going to be a lot of American League teams that have been throwing a lot of pitchers out there. Like you've talked the last couple weeks about New York's problems. I think there's going to be a lot of roster management as we get in here, and I don't think that they're going to settle for like 500 or whatever it's going to take to get one of the wild card spots. I think that they can make a run for the division. There just happen to be a dozen games back right now, but there's still a lot of baseball left.
Yeah, I really think they're going to be competitive in that division coming into this final, couple month stretch here. But yeah, I mean, there aren't too many big name players on the market. The other one is obviously Juan Soto. He's still hanging around. I know there's reports that if he rejects the next offer from the Nationals, then they're going to look to ship him off somewhere relatively quickly. So I know the Padres are kind of a hot destination for him. Some people are saying the Rays, because the Rays do have, the capital to acquire him, but it's still, I'm not, I wouldn't love so. A deal like that.
No.
You
don't want to, again, Juan Soto's amazing, right? But if you just Juan Soto by himself is not what the Rays need, right? And you're going to shoot yourself for, and what's the possibility he's actually going to sign, or it's a sign and trade, to make sure that he's not just a rental. Also, you're asking Stu to break out the pocketbook. There's a lot of things that, sure, on paper, Juan Soto to the Rays, great. You could put it in the trade machine and work it however you want, but you're going to give up a lot, basically your whole top 10 of your prospects, and or one of the names that you really like in the lineup.
Yeah, I really genuinely cannot see Juan Soto coming to Tampa if Shane McClanahan isn't included in that package. Like, you can't
Yeah.
get a top three hitter in baseball without giving up your best player. Like, it's just not going to work like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the kind of the inflated market right now, I personally don't want to give up McClanahan, which I guess would be kind of selfish because Juan Soto is really good, but
Yeah.
you're not just going to get Juan Soto for Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, and Curtis Mead. Like, that's not even half of what's required. So I I think he's great, and I'd love to see him in a Rays uniform, but just what it would take to get him this season is going to be a little too high, in my opinion.
And again, because he's only 23 years old.
Yeah,
It would be, imagine if we were trading Wander Franco, right? Uh, as a fan base, I mean, unless, Wander just didn't want to be here or something like that. Um, man, can you expect what the haul would be for Wander Franco at 23? Like, or at very, very young, right? It's... it would be one thing if he was a seasoned veteran, maybe at the end of his 20s, right in his prime or something. But now you have to mortgage a lot. And I've seen some trade packages out there that, you're going to have to give up a solid starter just off the top, and you're going to need to set up the Nationals with at least 2 or 3 like surefire prospects. At least.
Yeah.
That's just at least. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly can't even imagine like what it would. I don't think anybody could afford Wander Franco. Like, I don't think there's a single team that could offer
Yeah.
anything. Like, he's on a massive like team friendly deal.
Yeah.
He's literally 21 years old, and he's one of the better. He's probably one of the top 3 or 4 players on the team right now.
Yeah.
If he was hitting one handed with his broken hand, he would probably still be a top 10 player on the team. He's
What if
just
we could
that
just
good.
trade one of his hands? So you get left-handed. The left hand of Wander Franco was good for at least a prospect, right?
Well, that makes me think now maybe the Rays could just trade for a hamate bone from somebody else to install into Wander, and then trade for a couple oblique muscles because it seems like they always need those kind of, laying around just in case.
I wouldn't
Maybe
put it past
a UCL.
Manfred. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him.
What's stopping teams from trading for body parts?
like we're bringing in this kid from Double A. It's like, well, if you look at his stats, but this kid, are you kidding me? His kidneys are pristine.
That's perfect. Just trade for healthy kidneys.
He'll be coaching the rest of his career, but for his kidneys, man, it's gonna be great. It's getting a little dark here.
Yeah, okay. So trade talk, we're good there. Maybe the Rays are
Yeah.
going to make some moves. I'm expecting smaller, moves.
Agreed.
Shore up the bullpen, maybe a bat.
Who do you think is going out? I guess because the Rays are going to end up getting some dude that like no one's ever heard of, and then you'll dig around in like Baseball Savant and figure out he's got like a 100th percentile like sweeping curveball or something, and you're like, oh, okay, I figured that out. That's why we like him. But I think as a fan, I would want to know who you think is going out. Like who do you expect won't be on the Rays after the trade deadline?
I feel like we could see maybe Roman Quinn. Like he's a fringe guy already. He's at a pretty like. That's it. He's just had a nice week. Like, he's not really a mainstay.
Right.
I think Luke Raley, he's got an option, even though he's been amazing this week. Like, he has an option. So if the Rays upgrade in the outfield, he's out. I don't really think they'll trade away any major league starters right now. I could see them trading away like a fringe quadruple A type player like Luke Raley or Quinn or
what about
Chang.
like Josh Lowe, Vidal Brujan, guys that. Assuming that no one wants like Phillips, right?
Right.
I think we're stuck with him, and I don't mean that. It is what it is. I think he's going to be able to turn it around, but at this point in time, I don't think anyone's giving up a good arm that we need for a good defensive outfielder that can't hit the ball. Otherwise, we would have got stuff for KK, quote unquote, right? But guys that can hit the ball a little bit and play good defense, I think that's the kind of unfortunately, the guys we're going to have to give up. And I agree with you 100%. The fringe dudes, and that kind of, I mean, maybe even some arms that, for whatever reason, I don't know all the options and things like that, but I'm assuming that the way that we bring up dudes and put them down and use them and things, there's probably some guys that we want to keep, but it could be they're at the end of their options. We don't want to keep them up at the major league level all the time, so it makes more sense to use them as an asset versus, use up their few options they have left, and then we're stuck on the 40-man, right?
Right, definitely. And you mentioned Josh Lowe, and I could see him being as part of like a package deal for somebody. I don't think he would be like the centerpiece of a trade.
Yeah.
Um, at least from what we've seen so far at the major leagues. Like he's starting to get there, he's arriving a bit, but he's not like, he doesn't have like the prospect hype anymore because like we've seen him play in the majors and he looks like a rookie, which is fine. Like, that's how rookies are. But I could see him in a package with, somebody else for maybe a bat. Um, but really, I think it's going to be like maybe a couple Rule 5 guys get sent off because that, roster crunch is coming up in the winter.
Yep.
So we'll see
Yeah.
that happen maybe for like a bullpen arm or two, and then
Yeah.
maybe like a sneaky good bat that, plays somewhere out west that is really good at a couple things that the Rays can look to take advantage of. So I think it's going to be a relatively quiet trade deadline, especially
Okay.
considering like what Peter Bendix was talking about on the Neil Solon's podcast like 2 weeks ago. He was saying like the biggest acquisitions that the Rays are going to make are the guys coming back from injury. And
Yes, agreed.
that's amazing. Like, acquiring essentially Harold Ramirez in a couple weeks, acquiring Wander Franco in like a month, acquiring Nick Anderson, Chagua, maybe in the next week and a half. Like there are a lot of, guys coming back, and, they're not all going to be healthy, but if they hit on like 3 of the 17 guys coming back from injury, this is instantly like, this team is going to be a solid playoff team. So you don't have to hit on everybody, just like 3 or 4 guys that come back, if they can contribute in some way that's above average, they're fine, because this is already a pretty good core that they have.
Agreed, and that kind of goes into what we saw this week. I think you did see guys like Quinn kind of getting their audition, getting their spot, or like Luke Raley or something, where we're pressed into this situation with the litany of injuries, but you got a good look at some of these guys that they're not in the plans, and once we get all of these guys coming back from injury, it's a completely different team, and that's why I'm not doom and gloom like it's just a dark cloud over this last week or two, but
Yeah.
but we're playing guys that are AAA guys, AA guys, and or not, they're not going to be in the long-term plan of the Rays anyway, because we have, like you said, so many better people that are coming in the pipeline. We just need them to get healthy.
Definitely. And in those auditions kind of that we saw this week, we really saw Luke Raley play really well. He's hitting the ball super hard. He's a really good base runner. He's got like 94th percentile sprint speed, but he runs like a defensive end. So he might be someone that maybe the Rays are playing him more in hopes that other teams are scouting, maybe looking at some of these fringe guys. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. They just got to keep playing. They're in a cold stretch right now, and it's really nothing more than a cold stretch. Like there have been a ton of base runners. They're getting on base like league average, actually a little bit above league average. They're just not getting them in. So they're really like 1 or 2 timely hard hit balls, not even timely hits, just hit the ball a little bit harder, like 2 more times a game. And then instead of going 2-6 this week, they go like 4-3 or 4-4, whatever. So it's really it's not that bad.
Agreed. I think that if there was just a couple centimeters to the left or to the right, there wasn't really an extended period of baseball where it was just like, they're just horrible. There was a couple hot pitchers, don't get me wrong. Singer just decided to pitch out of his mind. But even in those games, where guys are throwing no-hitters, like, they were in the game. Like all these games, we would go down maybe early, and then we'd get back in it, and it just would be an 8th or 7th inning late hit that would get us across. But at the plate, guys are getting on base. Guys are moving. They're patient. They're getting walks. They're doing all the things that I would think are just solid, fundamental, good baseball skills. So I'm not down, man. I'm good vibes only, to be honest with you. I think that I'm glad that I'm coming in here because I think Zach might have a little more of a pessimistic tone this week if he was on.
Right.
Only because look, we need to look. All these losses are going to mount up, and that's something we haven't talked about. So I don't want to be doom and gloom, but obviously we'd like to just maybe be closer to 500 while we wait for all these guys, and we still have another month, for Franco and stuff. So it's going to be imperative that we steal more than just one out of these series. But everything I saw this week was indicative of success. We just didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean the pitching's been solid, other than a couple quadruple A mop up guys coming in and giving up a couple runs that ended up not mattering anyways. We saw that with Ralph Garza.
Yeah.
I think Sean Armstrong, it happened to, like, guys that really aren't going to be around as the rest of the team gets healthy. Like, they're the ones who are they're kind of auditioning for other teams too, so it's really not a big deal. But the only problem is the offense is just a little cold right now. That's it. The
Yeah.
base running has improved tremendously from the first half until really July. They really started turning it around. But in the first half of the season, they were the 16th best base running team, and now they're a top 10 base running team over the last 2-3 weeks. So they're really starting to turn it around there. Defensively, I have the numbers somewhere down here in my notes. Okay. So defensively, they went from a middle of the pack early in the first half of the season. Now they're top 10 based on defensive runs saved, outs above average, ultimate zone rating. So they've looked really clean defensively this week, as we've seen. The base running it's a little bit harder to notice because you only notice base running when it's bad, but they're going first to third on a ton of singles, first to home on a bunch of doubles. So
Yeah.
it's just not happening that much, but they're definitely getting better in base running and defense.
Well, and this is why those timely hits that unfortunately other teams got that we didn't. But when you see the negatives, Randy tried to get to second and he got out, right? But what if they were able to convert some of these guys from first to third and then into the home, or Randy gets to second, it's more often that the aggressiveness is rewarded. We just needed a couple more timely hits, and then people would be saying what you just said, because you're digging in the numbers and seeing what the truth is. But I think the narrative right now is that because we're not winning, they're working backwards, I think. And you're saying well, why aren't we winning? Everyone sucks at the plate and they're striking out and they're running and Randy's too aggressive and he needs to settle down. And there were a couple bad defensive plays that, like you said, statistically were great. But Josh Lowe takes a ball off the face. G-Man kind of gets tied up at first base, overthrows second. There's unfortunately 2 or 3 bad instances out of the 150 outs that we recorded over the week.
Yeah. Well, and even the ball off, just as an example, the ball off Josh Lowe's face, okay, so they end up losing 3-0 instead of 1-0. It ultimately, and they didn't even rule that an error either. They ruled that an inside the park home run.
That's so bad.
That I have such a problem with ERA.
I was gonna say, bring it. I know you do.
Oh my gosh, but yeah, it's just a lot of the bad defenses end up not really mattered that much because they're just not scoring anyways. Okay, cool. So the bad defense allows this takes the score to 5-1 instead of 3-1.
Right.
How much does that really matter? So I'm really not worried. Honestly, this is probably, it's weird to say it, but this is maybe the closest they've looked to playing complete baseball in all facets of the game.
Yeah.
Even when they were winning earlier this season, they would go on their little 3-4 game win streaks. The defense wasn't good. The base running was all over the place. But now, that stuff is good. They're literally just missing 1 or 2 hard hit balls, not even hits. Just hit the ball a little bit harder twice a game, and you're looking like a playoff team. So it's a cold stretch. I'm not worried. This is a good team. They're a little banged up, but they're still playing well. And that's basically my notes for every series is missing the 1 or 2 hard hit balls. That's it.
Yeah. Well, let's maybe break down because I agree with you. The Royals and the Orioles games were we got back in it late or we gave up early runs. That was kind of a trend. Is unfortunately we were getting hit pretty early, but maybe if you want to talk about some individual performances and what you saw and what you hopefully extrapolate from those.
Something I really, really liked this week was Luke Raley. I've said it a lot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
208 WRC plus over the last 7 days. Like, that's the best on the team. His zero point 0.4 FWAR is the best on the team. His 1090 OPS is the best on the team. Like, it's weird, but like Luke Raley has been the best hitter on the Rays
Absolutely.
since the All-Star break. Yeah, he's fun to watch. He kind of does everything. Like he's a really awkward defender, but he's pretty good. He's an awkward runner. I noticed that he runs like a baby giraffe that was born a couple minutes ago, but he's so fast. It's crazy, and he's locked in at the plate. He's striking out as much as he's walking.
Sure.
Tons of hard contact, pulling the ball in the air. Finally got a home run to show for it. Like
Yep.
he's a pretty good player that I'm really happy to have as a fourth outfielder once Margot and Harold come back. Like I'm cool with that.
Yeah, man. If Luke Raley's the worst of those four, yeah, we're well, at least if he can run this, hopefully there's not. Well, you tell me. I haven't seen his numbers or what he should be, expected and things like that. But and if he's overperforming or even underperforming, that would be awesome. But it was very nice to see him like getting walked, being disciplined, taking walks, hitting the ball really hard and often too. He had some of the most hits across the board. So it's really just consistency is what I'm looking for. There was one game where we kind of finally got some key hits, but to me it was better that Luke Raley came along and he was good for 2 hits, 3 hits every game.
Yeah, I mean, and even when he's not getting the hits, like he's just putting defenders in a difficult spot and forcing them to make plays.
Yeah.
Baltimore's had a sneaky good defense this season, so they made a couple good plays on him. But yeah, I'm happy. I don't think he's going. I mean, I know that he's not going to be a 208 WRC plus guy the rest of the way through. Like that's not going to happen. But
Yeah.
he'll be like an above average hitter, and he'll get his at bats against right-handed pitching, and
Yeah.
he'll definitely be a solid contributor. So it was just really funny to see like coming out of the All-Star break, Cash is like, yeah, he's our number 3 hitter now. And then he proved it. Like he's been the best hitter on the team. Like you want your best hitters batting second or third, and that's where he's been like in a couple of these games. And he's been in the cleanup spot. They
Yeah.
dropped in like 5th or 6th a couple times, but like you want your best hitters in the top of the lineup, so it makes sense that he was up there.
Maybe talk a little bit about we saw a few catchers play this week. I think Mejia was probably the best. I mean, he only played a couple games, but in those games he was hitting the ball pretty well. Didn't get as many walks, but again, out of the catcher spot, we're just kind of looking for whatever. At this point, anybody, we're just looking for what we can get. But what did you think about Mejia defensively versus Bethancourt?
I feel like they're about on the same page defensively. Like there isn't much separating them. I think Mejia he has more familiarity with the pitching staff, and I think that's
Okay.
what's helping him the most. Bethancourt definitely he's got a cannon. Mejia's got a
Yeah.
pretty strong arm too, but to me there's really not much of a difference there. Pinto is head and shoulders above both of them defensively,
Oh,
but
okay.
his
Okay.
bat is very quiet. So,
Yeah.
but again, he's a rookie, so it's going to happen. But he has a really strong track record of being like over 800 OPS guy in the minors. So I mean, he could be at least a league average hitter with some time in the majors. But yeah, it sucks to lose Mejia for a little bit. I know it's mostly precautionary, so he'll be fine. But I think we're going to see kind of a revolving door with all 3 catchers, maybe the rest of the way.
Okay.
I'd be cool with it if they rostered all 3 at the same time because I know Bethancourt can play like first base and the corner outfield spots.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
just for the defense, like and the consistency behind the plate, like he's the guy that I would want starting. But I know that you can't have a rookie back there every single game. It's just not something that's going to help the team long term. So I don't know. I'm fine with a bit of a revolving door there, though.
Yandy Diaz was another stand-up performer in my mind. I think that he's been talking about first base, him playing first or third. I think you're relying on him in the lineup, but he also led off a couple games. Yandy Diaz, leadoff hitter. I mean, he gets on base, and it's crazy to have a leadoff hitter that can also slug the ball pretty well. So, I mean, he didn't crush too many home runs, but there were a lot of hard hit balls from Yandy Diaz this week.
Yeah, if he could just stop hitting him into the ground so much, that would be kind of cool. But
Yeah,
yeah, he gets on base. He's a solid defender. He looks pretty calm out there too, which is nice when you have, so much change and just volatility, I guess, out there to have a consistent guy like Yandy. So I'm really happy he's on the team. He's a good consistent player. So um, yeah, I hope he sticks around for a while. I hope they get some kind of extension because he's really like he's pretty durable too. So since like
O-
2019, he's been durable.
out of the guys that are being called up or newer to the team, like I guess Yu Chang or Roman Quinn, guys like that. Was there anything you saw that might have raised their stock? Because I mean, Yu Chang might be a guy who kind of he's very versatile, so he can kind of play a number of infield positions. But what did you guys think, or what did you think about these guys kind of raising their stock while we're waiting for these starters to get back in?
I think Yu Chang is probably like, I think he could stick around as like a utility defensive replacement kind of guy in the infield. Um, just because he really can play second, shortstop. He could probably handle third if they wanted him to. I'm sure he could handle first, but um, with Wander out, you got to have like a backup to your backup. So Taylor Walls is definitely the starting shortstop now,
Yeah,
but you can't not roster a guy who doesn't play shortstop, like, or who can't. You can't not roster somebody else who plays shortstop. So there's a couple
right.
double negatives in there, but you get the
No,
point.
I,
You
I
need you
do.
need Yu Chang on the roster because if he is not there, there's nobody else to play shortstop in a pinch. Like, I know some people have said Isak Paredes, but he hasn't played there since like 2017 or something in like Double A. 2017 Double A baseball is a lot different than 2022 in the majors, so I'm not banking on him playing shortstop. Um, so yeah, I think Yu Chang is the guy that sticks around. I don't know about Quinn, just because that is kind of a more crowded situation out there with
Yeah,
like in terms of major league ready guys. Um, he's fast and he's a decent defender, but Luke Rayleigh's pretty fast and a decent defender, and he's been hitting more. So,
yeah.
but again, then he's another lefty, and you can't have seven left-handed outfielders. So there's just so many moving parts, and I'm sure we're going to see more injuries and fake phantom IL stints and just a lot of crazy roster management stuff coming up.
Yeah, it's tough because we've been talking about the roster crunch in one way or another, and it just seems like they're getting at the point where they're gonna have to make some decisions and or kind of rotate some guys to get kind of restock the bottom of the cupboard in the like in the farm system, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's something to think about as we bring in all these returning people that um, I just don't think that anyone really stood. I mean, well, Isak had a really beefy home run, and that was good. I
Yeah.
think you're a fan of his for sure. Um, but I think he's made probably the biggest in the last couple weeks. He's made the biggest kind of stock up. I think in the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, he's a really solid defender in addition to that, nice power bat where he pulls everything. So, yeah, I think he's pretty much cemented himself in this team for at least the next couple of years, through arbitration and all that. It'd be cool to see a contract extension, but the Rays only do that when they're 100% certain about things, like with Wander Franco, Brandon Lau. Um, They don't do it too much on the pitching side, I guess, because pitching is like you've usually got like a couple peak years and then your arm falls off. So yeah, I don't know. I like Paredes a lot though. He'll definitely be sticking around as guys continue to get healthy. I think we're going to see a lot more of a shuffle on the pitching side just because there's so
Okay.
many pitchers that are hurt and working their way back. Like JT Chagua, he threw a scoreless inning for Durham yesterday, so he's probably about like 7 to 10 days away from being on the major league roster. Nick Anderson, he's going to pitch in Durham today, so he's probably about 7 to 10 days from returning to the major league roster. Jalen Beeks, he's already throwing live batting practice from his, I'm doing air quotes here, lower leg tightness. He's coming off Tommy John surgery last year or like a year and a half ago. So obviously it's, workload management. Oh yeah, we got Yanni Chirinos. He's looking really good in the complex league. Brennan McKay, Aaron Sledgers, Cody Reed, all looking really good in the complex league. Like they're going to be in Durham maybe a week from now. So it's about to get really fun on the pitching side. I think we're still going to see more phantom IL stints. Like we'll probably see Jason Adam with like left pinky toe extension going on the IL, and he'll take a nice little vacation somewhere. So it's really like there are just so many moving parts, but it's going to be really fun and exciting. And I'm just looking forward to the offense, coming through eventually though.
I guess we haven't talked a lot about pitching. What did you feel about the pitching performances this week, good or bad?
They were really fine. Like the only problems were the guys coming in mop-up duty when, we were already punting to save, to conserve the workload from the better relievers. Like, when Ralph Garza and Sean Armstrong come into a game, Luke Bard, that's not the A bullpen. Those aren't the guys you're putting in with the lead. So, obviously there haven't been too many leads this week, but you want to save Jason Adam. You want to save Ryan Thompson, who looked pretty good this week. You want to save Brooks Raley. Colin Poche, I know he had a bit of a rough week, but he did redeem himself in a way, but then he gave up a pretty cheap home run. So
yeah,
I don't know. But Ryan Thompson is someone I liked a lot. He had 3 shutdown innings this week. And I know it's kind of recent, I guess, but 17 of his last 19 outings have been scoreless. He hasn't allowed a run since June 16th. So not July 16th, June 16th. It's been over a month. So he's been solid. His slider's back. A lot of good guys in the bullpen. Starters have been, good enough. Some of them have run into some trouble, but it's really like nothing too serious that, if the offense could score more than 2 runs a game, we wouldn't even notice that the pitching wasn't perfect. So it's fine.
Right. Agreed. I think other than McClanahan got hit a little bit, Yarbs got hit a little bit early in his games, but pretty much everyone's right about where you'd want to be in terms of like FIP too. I mean, a lot of these guys are under 3 in their FIP.
Yeah.
Klub's doing great. Rasmussen was fine. Springs unfortunately gave up a lot of hits, but he also struck out 7 dudes across a couple games. So I think you had good quality starts by Yarbs and McClanahan, and you're maybe just a little bit of an off week for a couple of guys in the pen. But and here's Cash again, because I haven't seen the entire data, but I would be interested in your opinion, or if you know anything about like some of these guys might be hitting over inning limits, or at least they're approaching some of their career highs in innings just because of all the injuries that we've had.
Yeah, pretty much every starter has passed or is at their career high, with the exception of like Kluber, but he hasn't pitched more than 100 innings in like 1,000 years. So like you gotta be careful with him. Yarbrough, he's been on and off injuries and oblique COVID stuff. Like he hasn't been himself in a couple of years. So everybody's pretty much at their season high. So this is the point where they're going to start slowing down the work. If that makes you upset, then I'm sorry. Not you personally, but like anybody listening. Like if it makes you upset that McClanahan's only going to go 5 or 6 instead of 7, like we want him in October. Like you don't want another Glasnow situation. Not that Glasnow's injury was workload related, but you want your best pitcher available in the postseason. So you got to take care of him. I've seen some weird arguments that like if you throw less innings, then it makes you more prone to injury, but that's just statistically not true. So I'd love to see the research behind that. Or like any kind of real world, like proof that you can show me. So that's just not a thing. Just ignore that stuff. Just mute them. It's not.
Yeah. In a starters, because they're pitching every 4 or 5 days, like I don't see it now. If it was like a high intensity reliever that's pitching every other day, and you're getting milking 2-3 innings out of this guy or whatever as a long-term middle reliever or something like that. Like maybe I don't know. I'm trying to see if there's a way I would give that credibility, but as a starter, every 4 days going out and pitching 5 innings of full speed, I don't see why that would. I think you'd get better effort if they knew like they didn't need to pace so much for 5 innings versus 8, 9, 7, something like that.
Yeah, you can go more like max effort throws in a shorter time frame than you could over a long time frame. Like that's just how it works. They're pretty careful with the bullpen too, with the workload. So
yeah, it's been a recipe for success, to be honest with you, because if you're allowing your starters to never see the third time through the lineup, you're bringing in a different arm, a different arm slot, you're making them guess, and hopefully you're getting 4 innings of just the lineup. Your opposing lineup they're not used to what's coming. If they get to settle in a groove. I mean, I kind of think that's what happened to Springs in one of his outings. Is like, he goes through. He went into the 6th or 7th, and then that's when the gates kind of opened up.
yeah, exactly. Like it's a good point that like not only is the workload management can help them with their health, but it also like helps with the numbers and plays to better matchups. So. Um, Yeah, I mean the Rays don't really have any workload related injuries either. Like maybe Andrew Kittredge because when he went down he was getting used quite heavily, but he was also like not himself because he had a weird back thing. So even that one's kind of up in the air. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we saw the Yankees. Michael King, he blew out his elbow. Like
Yeah.
he's at a career high.
Mm.
He's at a career high in July, which rhymes, which is cool. But it's not cool that he blew out his elbow. So
Yeah, it sucks.
we're gonna see a lot of these because the Yankees are. I just, I mean, I have strong feelings about that, but I don't see how you can ethically like, knowingly throw guys like obviously they probably want to pitch every day because they're major leaguers. Like they want the ball all the time, but like
Right.
you're just health for wins. Like, is that really worth it?
Right. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't have a problem with the way that Cash has been managing the bullpen at all. I don't have a problem with the way we're leveraging our starters. It is interesting to see what they're going to do if they don't have more arms coming, or unfortunately if we have a setback with some of the returning relievers that we need to mop up more innings, right? I mean, That's why they brought in Kluber. To win or lose, we need him to come in and mop up some innings.
No, yeah, he'll give them innings. I think where we're gonna see the next wave of innings come from as the starters kind of get like, as they start to slow down a bit with their workload. I think we're gonna see Sledgers, McKay, Chirinos, who is the other guy on there? Cody Reed. Well, Cody Reed's more of a 1 inning guy, but we're gonna see these guys like Josh Fleming eventually. Like they're gonna need to go 2 to 3 innings every 4 or 5 days, kind of like Colin McHugh last year. So you don't need all of Fleming, Yanni, McKay, and Sledgers to be good. You really just need like 1 or 2 of them to be good.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the Rays' chances there, and all of those guys have had success at the major league level. So it's not really like we're banking on some unknown. Like they just have to be. Only 2 of them have to be like what they were at some point in like their rookie seasons, and the chances are pretty good there. So. Especially with Yanni though, because he was really good with that power sinker. So I like him to come and eat innings eventually.
All right. Is there anything else? I mean, I think this was important to me to kind of be like, it's not doom and gloom, man. I know it's a really, really, really bad week in terms of winning. But again, we said at the top of the hour, like it was. I didn't think it was depressing or bad or like, oh my God, why are these guys out there? Or like, there's not like a single culprit that I would pin my my aggression on or something like that. But it was just kind of, I wish it was better. I wish it turned out a little better, and I'm encouraged that it will.
Right. I mean, it's definitely been a little frustrating. Like
Sure.
the starting pitching has been good. The bullpen has been good aside from like, when we're punting games. Base running has been good. Defense has been good. Everything is good except for 1 or 2 hits. So There's nothing to worry about. It's literally only been a week of cold baseball. It feels like it's been longer, but like first half of July, they were a top 3 offensive team in the league. So I don't expect them to be a top 3 offensive team in the league for like the rest of the season, but like they're not going to be a bottom 3 team. They're going to be somewhere in the middle. They're going to be, probably around, they're like at 102 WRC plus as a team this season. So they're probably going to be somewhere in the like 100 to 105 range, which is average. So if they can be an average team with good pitching, good defense, good base running, that's a playoff team. So they'll get there. They're just cold right now. No worries. Taj Bradley pitches today in Durham. So if you need something to be happy about, there it is. He's fun to watch.
Is there anything else you want to cover before we wrap this thing up?
No, we pretty much went through all the injuries. I don't think there were any important updates. Matt Whistler hurt his neck sleeping, but that's a little unfortunate. It's mostly precautionary though to go on the IL. Brendan McKay, Yonny Chirinos, Cody Reed, Aaron Sledgers, they're all probably going to pitch within the next couple days in the complex league, which for all of them, that could be their final appearance before they get moved up to Durham. So, reinforcements are on the way. Oh, and the Rays signed Xavier Isaac, their first round pick, to a deal. Yeah.
One all-name team for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That is like the most Rays name ever.
Yeah.
I love it. And we'll see. I mean, from you tell me, because I've read when I was reading about this, a lot of people were thinking we reached, or they like, this guy's like the 100th best guy in the draft. Why did you take him so high? Is it just if you get raw power, you got to take it and hope, because you would hope that they can maybe teach. I know we had talked offline about like the ability of teams to maybe add tools to guys as long as they have raw power.
I mean, you can't teach him to be big, like huge. So like you can't teach like, Xavier Edwards, who's in Durham. He's like 150 pounds, 5'9", but you can't make him into like a 6'5", 250 pound type of guy. Like, yeah, I mean, you can't teach size. I'm drafting guys, and he was probably going to be like a top 10 pick next year, assuming he's healthy, obviously, because that's always a big thing. So I don't think it's necessarily a reach. I think the Rays are just a bit early on him. We'll probably see him in the complex league at some point in the next few weeks, but the power is there. Hold his own, it seems, defensively at first base. So draft school first base usually works out on a team. When they draft him, they're good. So I'm cool with the pick. I like it. But I don't think reach again. I think if anything, they like a couple months. And I think also if Isaac had been healthy during like the summer circuit stuff or whatever they do to showcase their skills, I think he would have been a higher pick, but he was a little banged up, but he's fine. It's not like a serious long-term injury. So I think it's a great pick.
Love it. Well, I guess I will. I'll pitch for, if you listened this long, thank you. And if you're not following us already, what are you doing? We have Ben Whitelaw over here who's killing it every single week. If you're not following at RBLR Sports, you need to get on that. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, you name it. And just, dude, we're trying to pump out great content about all the Tampa Bay teams. We just had a really good interview with 1771 Designs on the Lightning Pod. The Rowdies are in the middle of getting back to the playoffs. They've made big moves. They are on a great run right now. The Bucks camp has started. We're already talking about that. So whatever you're into in Tampa Bay, we are talking about it every single week with great guys. Again, you've been listening to this for 45 minutes. You know how good Ben is. So, love it. I'm very proud that I get to fill in because I have the easiest job in the world. I just get to listen to smart people talk about sports every week. So hell yeah, I'm the most educated sports fan in Tampa Bay, and you could be too. Wherever you're listening to this, if it's Spotify or YouTube or whatever, there's a follow button, there's a like button or subscribe button, whatever the app wants you to do, so that you get each of these in your inbox or in your app as soon as we drop them. So that's it. That's my sales pitch. Buy a t-shirt, shop.RBLR Sports. There's a link in the description. It feeds Ben's family. So, do it or he'll starve. So I mean, that's my soft pitch.
Yeah, I need my 4 grains of rice this week, so hopefully somebody can buy a shirt.
Who said
Yeah.
Who said 4?
Okay, I'll go back to 3.
I love it, man. Well, thank you. You carried me to a great episode, Ben. As always, thank you, sir.
No, thank you. It's a great flu game episode. Great work. Always great to have you on, filling in, whatever. It's been great. Awesome. Great job.
All right, guys. Well, there's only one more thing to say, and that's go Rays.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.